Enter if you dare this ghastly conversation of teens fraught with despair and recent lacerations. Final girl, chase after her, don't let her get away. But first, the Slumber Podcast Massacre with TNA.
Welcome to Slumber Podcast Massacre with TNA. That's Tim.
That's Andy.
And this is a podcast about horror. Every week, Tim and I get together on a computer some way, and we talk about a different movie in the horror genre, from your well-known classics down to that rare gem that like to be called evil on the back of your video store shelf. This week, Tim and I are going to talk about the 1980 holiday classic, New Year's Evil. Tim, are you looking forward to the new year?
Oh man, am I ever?
What a hot question.
Yeah, digging deep there. No, but I'm glad that you asked that though, because I was literally just yesterday, I was driving and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I have a lot of passions in life. I have a lot of activities that I like to do, theater, combat sports, all that stuff. But literally my favorite feeling on the planet is being in a room full of people who are having fun and laughing and having a great time. And sometimes that's my kids, and we're laughing and just being goofy as hell, or friends of my own age. But literally, like I miss that. It's almost like I don't even realize, my brain won't let me realize how much I miss that. Because if you really sit and think about how long it's been since you've been just hanging out, it doesn't have to be a huge group, 5, 6 people just laughing and everybody's in a good mood. Like, this year should have, I don't know when it will start, but should have much, much more of that.
Yes.
Theoretically. And so I just will be so excited when that gets here.
Yeah. I had a similar thought not too recently. And it was because New Year's Eve is coming up. And I remember last New Year's, we all went down to the Franklin house. It was a great time. And I remember being like, until they stop doing this, this is where I will be every New Year's Eve. And then the next New Year's Eve, no, you will not be there. But yeah, I was just like, damn, like I didn't realize how much I was looking forward to that night. Because that is a good time. And I, as I've gotten older, I haven't enjoyed social gatherings as much as I used to, but that was one I was really looking forward to. And the reality of, where any other year I would be like, oh, New Year's Eve, I'm just staying home alone. Cool. Now I'm like, oh, damn it.
Yeah, you're right. That particular get together that you're referencing, for years I had wanted to go to that, and it was by invite only. And I didn't go to that establishment as much as some other folks. So, and it is kind of in their defense, they only allow so many people for a reason to keep it intimate.
Awesome.
And it's super, super great. So finally, last year is my first year to go. And I agree with you. That night rules. And I'm like, I too am going to come here every New Year's. And then the very next year, it's gone again. So here I am back to square one.
It'll only make the next one that much better.
It's so great, though, that night, because it's like, it's so funny. I just some sort of like innate humility in me wouldn't allow me to take full advantage, because you pay a set amount before you attend, and when you attend you can order whatever you want from the bar.
It's hard for people to wrap their head around, where you're like, yeah, all food and drink are paid for. Yeah. Oh, so they have like a limited menu? No, the whole fucking menu is available. Anything you want has already covered, and they provide you a limo ride home.
Exactly. It's a perfect setup. And I, like, for the first 3 drinks, I was just getting the normal, like regular domestic beer that I would normally drink or whatever. And then finally somebody's like, what are you doing? Like, why don't you go up there and order something for real? So I literally went up to the bar and I'm like, can I have 12 shots of Fireball? And they're like, here you go. And then they gave me a fucking platter of Fireball. I could have said anything I wanted to.
Yeah. You could have said, can I have 12 bottles of Fireball?
Yeah.
They're like, please just open them one at a time, but sure.
Can I have a human adrenal gland? Please. Here you go.
Yeah.
Right. Fresh out of my own body.
They put
Here
that in the ramen.
Yeah. I wasn't really using it anyway. Here you go. But
I'm gonna miss that. That was a good time.
Yeah, it was super great. And now this is fun. Then we're going to make this fun real quick here because we're going to wager a little bit. And I'd love to hear from our audience with their wagers. Some of you might be more informed than others. It's okay if it's just a wild guess. For a second, let's just assume that we all have a shared opinion of what equals normal. Okay. So normal to me, as far as societal hangouts, would be like, you could go to a play and sit shoulder to shoulder with people and nobody has masks on. Okay.
Sure.
That's kind of whatever. Just picture life before COVID. That's
right.
normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
February.
So how, right. So during what month of 2021 do you think will be the first month? And granted, there will be months that are much better than where we're at right now leading up to this.
Sure.
But I'm talking full on normal. What month do you say?
That's hard to say. And I hate to be the pessimist, but my pessimism has got me through this year with realistic expectations. I don't know if we'll have that next year. We will definitely have people who think it's okay. I think next year is going to be a struggle because people will hear, oh, vaccine, cool, everything's back to normal. And like precautions are out the window, but we will still have a grace period where we still need to take precautions. If there is one, yeah, maybe very late in the year. I think 2021 or 2022 will be a little more what we'd consider normal. 2021 is going to be a rough transition.
Well, let me make it a little bit easier then. Still masks, but full capacity allowed. Do you see that happening next year?
Yes, maybe not full capacity, but a larger capacity for sure. Yeah. Yeah, maybe some combo of the both, either full capacity with masks or not without masks. I don't know.
I'm going to throw a guess out there. I am going to say that it's going to something close as we can get to that normal without it being wide open. I'm going to be cautious as well. I'm going to say, what's after July? Let's go with August. I'm going to be, it's a little optimistic, a little pessimistic at the same time. Cause I know some people, like, you're right. Like, they're going to think like, wow, I already know people getting vaccines, like literally as we record this. Yeah. So why wouldn't everything be normal?
I already feel it. I'm super cautious and I'm already like, once I get that vaccine, fuck it. Am I really going to be that careful?
Right.
Like I'm sick of it even. So it's going to be hard for people who don't give a fuck.
Right. And maybe that's all we need right now is just, if it's not normal tomorrow, just to have a little light at the end of the tunnel to say like, we got this vaccine in an amazingly fast amount of time. Like, we're taking steps forward as opposed to backward, at least big picture.
Yeah.
So,
and as you said, the speed of the vaccine was definitely a surprise because I thought we were getting it early to mid next year. I was like, because that when this all started, that's where they're like making a vaccine that could take 18 months. And you're like, shit. So yeah, to get it within like 9 is pretty impressive. And I don't know a lot of the specifics on it, but I know RNA was involved, which is kind of never really been done before as far as making a vaccine. So this actually might have pushed us into furthering our, vaccine technology and opening new doors to maybe it'll be easier to get vaccines out quicker in the future now because of this, because we were put to this test. So yeah, human ingenuity. Yay, humans.
Yes. Yeah. It was all worth it.
But anyway, you know what, Tim? I don't want to talk about this virus anymore. Let's talk about New Year's Evil, which is this week's episode. So it's from 1980. It was written and directed by Emmett Alston, produced by Cannon Films, which I don't think we've covered a Cannon film yet, have we? Oh, Return of the Living Dead? No.
I know that we did. We did. We
did one very early
because we talked about Cannon. Yeah, we did.
Okay, but it's been a while since we've done a Cannon film.
Yes.
And this stars Roz Kelly as Blaze and Kip Nevin as Evil. I could find no info on its budget or box office.
Me either.
So it exists. We know that. Apparently people are free. There is a podcast I listen to where they only do Cannon films. So I listened to this episode and they were talking about the box art and how scary it is. And this movie to me, for some reason, just has, like, when you suggested it, I'm like, what the fuck is that movie? Like, watching the trailers for it, none of it popped out. The box art did not look familiar to me at all. It's just kind of like a guy with a knife coming out of a calendar, essentially. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about how off-putting it is. I'm like, this looks like the most benign box art I've ever seen. So this movie to me was A, surprise, and B, a real treat. I loved this movie.
We talk a lot about different venues, just at home and when you're watching movies and how to watch them and what's the best environment. Like, this is right up there with that category of have some friends over, get out some drinks or whatever you like, do whatever you like to do and just sit back and laugh your ass off. Like, it's not so bad. I recently watched a horror movie that was so bad that I just literally could not keep watching it. It was the quality. It's called Bloody Bible Camp. And I wanted to like it.
How old is this movie?
It's new. It's like 2 years old. Oh. And I'm like, this will be awesome. And it's literally, it feels like people just picked up like a camcorder and said, hey, let's make a movie today. And you be this person and I'll be that. But like, it's beyond, like, I love camp. Like, it's everything that I want. Like, I love camp and I love blood and I love camp and blood at camp. Like, everything about it is perfect. But so awful. But this movie is competent enough in its filming that it doesn't disrupt the enjoyment of whatever the hell is happening on screen. And it is goofy and fun as hell. Yeah.
And thankfully, because after you mentioned, I watched the trailer and I was just like, this movie looks bananas. But watching the trailer, I was like, is this going to be one of those things where all these things I'm seeing in the trailer are like red herrings or like not how they're portrayed in the trailer? No, they were. Like, everything that was in the trailer was everything I wanted. Like, what I kind of liked about this movie was there wasn't any mystery in it. It was just kind of one of those like race against the clocks. Like, the stakes, who's involved. They try to make some mystery, which I feel misses completely on the mark. Like, if they just avoided trying to do that, I think this would have been even better, but I still enjoyed it despite all its, it's got some flaws. It drags a little in some spots, but when I say drag, the literally feet shuffling.
Yes.
During some of these dance scenes, a lot of extended dance. I shouldn't say extended, just there are a lot of where they will just cut to people dancing,
Right. And
musical interludes, I guess we'll say.
And even like there's so much of that you can even like see the dancers getting a little tired.
Yeah, there is no joy left in their face. The body movement and face expression does not match at all.
Yes. Yeah, no, you mentioned that it is a Cannon movie, and that always fucking rules because I think for our listeners, I just want to say real quick, if you don't really follow film a whole lot, the idea of getting excited over a production company might not really make sense to you. But that's because I think people envision them as like like a science fiction movie, like a tribunal, like a long table and like six people sitting up there, like
in silhouette.
The film shall be made. But it's not that. It's like it's Golan Globus are these who are connected to canon. They're just two cousins, two Israeli dudes with some money, and they like to make low budget movies and turn a profit.
Yeah, because they bought Canon and then were like, their business model was we make cheap movies. But it was just one of those lightning in a bottle things where they tapped into this need in the 80s for like B-level action movies. Like they made Chuck Norris a star. He got like 2 or 3 franchises out of them.
Tons of ninja movies. Like any movie where you're just like, where you'll see it and go, now that looks like a cheesy 80s movie. Odds are that's a canon film. Oh, yeah. And I love it.
But then they had some like hit, like Runaway Train. That was Oscar nominated film.
Yeah.
Which I watched as a child. Like I remember my dad letting us rent that I was in 5th grade and I watched Runaway Train. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's got like John Voight and Eric Roberts. And they're like escaped convicts. And the only thing I remember as a kid just being like, they say the F word a lot in this movie. Like that's really all I remember. But apparently like, and then growing up and then learning again, like, oh, that movie was like well regarded and nominated for Academy Awards. Interesting. But yeah, that's canon. Canon's they're just this icon. It's iconic for a decade.
Yeah, they are. And the director who you mentioned, very few credits to his name. I mean, not a lot. One of them is, speaking of ninjas, he did 9 Deaths of the Ninja, which is it's kind of famous for being as awful as it is, even though it stars one of my childhood favorites, Sho Koshigi, which was kind of like, he was like the main ninja guy. He was in like Pray for Death and like all these great ninja movies. But that movie, let's put it this way, it opens with a stage and more freaking like dry ice smoke than you could imagine, and women in like leotards doing this sort of like interpretive dance and like an 80s like kind of smooth dusty song like ooh, ooh, kind of like, and then a shirtless Japanese man just swinging a sword around, and that's as much sense as that movie makes. From there, it's just
what's ridiculous. That one called?
9 Deaths of the Ninja.
Okay.
So check that one out.
Wow.
But yeah, so we got a director here who, not a lot of credits to his name, but does a fine job with this, I think.
Yeah. I think in our last episode, I talked about kind of how uninspired the directing was. And watching this, I was like, okay, here are at least like, it looks like there are choices being made. Some interesting shots, nothing too over the top where you're like, that's iconic, but just some good, I think, thought and creativity went into it.
Yeah. And it takes a kind of for the time period, it takes a kind of gutsy choice to center a movie around new wave music, which for those who, well, I'll wait to get into that. Do you want to do Nan Sum?
All right, let's do Nan Sum.
Yeah.
I should also say this movie did not pass the Bechdel-Wallace test. It got close, but it doesn't.
Oh,
they're kind of there's 2 women talking about a show, but then they switch into talking about the woman's husband. So doesn't. I think it's the whole conversation. I don't know. I'm going to say it doesn't pass it, but whatever. All right, here's Nan Sum. It's New Year's Eve, and Diane Blaze Sullivan is hosting a coast-to-coast music and dancing celebration televised live from Los Angeles. Everyone's having fun until Blaze gets a mysterious call from Evil, claiming he will kill someone every hour on the hour as the new year sweeps throughout the country. Now it's a race against time as the clock inches closer to midnight and the killer inches closer to Blaze. And why can't anyone get in touch with her husband? I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely not him.
Definitely not him.
Yeah. Man, you can see that coming from a mile away.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because they don't we should say here, they don't really conceal the killer. They do at his very first introduction when he makes the phone call, because she's hosting this. It is this kind of like a American, rockin' New Year's Eve. Dick, whatever his name. Who was that guy?
Dick Clark.
Dick Clark. Thank you. I was going to say Dick Cavett. A very different vibe.
Yeah, very less rocking.
Yeah. Just kind of a slow, chill New Year's Eve.
Right.
With Dick Cavett. But yeah, like it's she's got bands playing. There's some sort of like, I don't really understand the bank of telephone calls that they're getting. Just people calling in being like, I'm having fun on New Year's Eve.
Oh, they're voting for their number one new wave song of the year.
Okay, that was it. Thank you. I could not remember what the point of the phone calls were. But yeah, she gets a phone call from this evil guy and we don't see his face, but then like the next scene, they reveal his face. So
yeah,
you know who the killer is through the whole movie. This movie felt to me almost like it had the stylings of almost a TV movie that they were just then like, let's make this a little bloodier.
Yes.
Because it just kind of had that formulaic of, you know who the killer is, you kind of know what he's doing. Like there were no like real big surprises as it came out. Things seem very just step by step.
Yeah, and no, and you're right. It's a specific feeling. Like we could try to cite like certain things, but it's just a feeling that you get of what a TV movie feels like. I don't know how to say it, but you're exactly right. It feels that way 100%. And it's not to say that it's bad. I mean, there's some things that kind of got on my nerves. Like I've never seen more kneeling, blocking, but for those who don't know, blocking being like the movement of the actors within a scene. I've never seen, like, there's that scene where Blaze is, so traumatized by these phone calls that she's sitting down and these two guys are just kneeling next to her having a full conversation. And it's like, will somebody just stand up, please, like a normal person would, But
yeah, I didn't notice that, but yes, as you pointed out, yes, that was kind of weird.
Yeah, but no, it moves fine enough, and you're right. I think they must have really bought into their own idea of concealing the killer's true identity. So I like the idea of saying like, hey, let's just show our killer's face, but the audience isn't going to know who the true killer is, except for the fact that we very obviously do. Yeah. Because when you have a character that's, mentioned repeatedly, but never around, could it be them?
Could it be?
Yeah. But there are some very weird things. I think they really tried to push the red herring thing where, they set you up for, oh, maybe it's this guy or maybe it's that guy. And there are some very, very strange scenes with the son, Blaze's son, that we have got to talk about because they've got some major explaining to do for that.
Well, our first kill, our cold open kill, is this woman named Yvonne, who we learn works with Blaze. Blaze is doing this TV show. And so, Blaze calls Yvonne, and then Yvonne is killed in her hotel room by we don't see the killer. He's hiding in the shower. So now we get our great title sequence of, as punks are prone to do, cram into a car. There are 8 people in this fucking car, Tim. Like if I get in a car and there are 2 other people, I feel like I have to cram myself as far over to the side as I can. But I don't understand how you fit 8 people in a car. I guess you can't fit 8 people my size in a car. Maybe that's it. But just watching. And it's fine for the back because you kind of have, if they're in a convertible, you got kind of a place to sit. One guy's got his leg literally hanging out of the car, but how they get 4 people in the front seat where the driver can comfortably drive, I don't understand how that works.
And the way that they're acting with each other, it's just like, it's kind of like whoever was writing the scene. It was like a group of people like in their like 50s or 60s. Like, I have heard of punks. Let's go around a circle and tell me what you have heard that punks do. And one of them says, exaggerated facial expressions. And the next one says, they're rough with each other and they grab each other and wrestle around and laugh. And it was, so they've got this extended scene, you're right, of this car packed with punks, just doing, I guess, what they thought punks did.
Yeah. Yelling at other cars.
They're
They do.
unruly.
There's just a lot of like grab ass going around and
Yeah,
just
like
keep your hands to yourself for a minute.
I'm pretty sure like if a carload of punks was going to a concert, they'd just drive there. Like they just go there. Like they wouldn't make a spectacle of it.
No,
you know?
these are definite movie punks.
Yes.
They're trying so hard to be badass. This introduces my favorite character in the movie, who is only in it for this long, but they pull up to the venue and this poor cop, they just like come up, are in his face, and all he can be is like, tickets, your tickets, please, tickets. I need your tickets, please. Which I'm pretty sure they just looped his line a couple times. Like they recorded him once, but he looks so like, I don't want to deal with these fucking people. I hate being here right now. But without the acting emotion, it's almost like a natural look.
It's almost as if the director, like maybe whoever was supposed to play that part dropped out and they had to like hold this guy by gunpoint to get him to say the lines. And he's just like got a gun in his back and he's tickets, please. Tickets, please. Like he's so like nervous and uncomfortable. It's so funny to watch.
But they're going to Blaze's show. And so we see Blaze backstage, and this is where we're introduced to her son, who looks weird. He's got a very weird look. Depending on the angle, he looks almost completely different, like depending on the camera angle. Because when he first walks in, I'm just like, whoa, this dude looks weird. But then a couple angles, you're like, oh, attractive 80s guy. Okay, I get it. Like movie. But like there's just a couple angles where you're like, this dude looks like an alien. But he's kind of introduced as, there's obviously this dynamic where the mom is a very successful TV personality and doesn't have time for her family. Like that's kind of the basis of what they're doing. And then the son's trying to tell her about, he got a job in he's got cast in a TV pilot, like a sci-fi pilot, but she's too focused on her show. Right. So now, so throughout the movie, they're trying to play up like maybe the son is involved in this. Like there's a scene, I don't feel bad jumping ahead here because it's kind of a nothing, but there's a scene later where he's, waiting in her hotel room or whatever for her. And he's like talking to himself and putting this nylon stocking over his face. And then he like pierces his ear with this giant needle. And then he's kind of creeping around backstage, but nothing of that ever, I shouldn't say nothing, but that is not played out at all very well. I mean, He does kind of come in at the end, but it still feels disjointed from all of that.
Oh no, I'm glad you jumped to that because that's exactly what I'm talking about. That scene. Okay, so you're right. The setup, all of it makes sense with him being sort of ignored and, his mom not really taking notice of his accomplishments and yada, yada. All of that setup is fine. And it's even a successful enough setup to say like, ooh, maybe he could be the killer because he's so traumatized that his mother won't pay attention to him. So he's going to get his revenge or something. All of that making just perfect sense. Then there's a scene where
they show the killer.
Yeah.
Then you see all the killings and no, it can't be him.
Right. And there's a scene though where the son like takes 3 pills of something.
Yes, I forgot about the pills.
And I'm like, is he going to overdose? Because 3 pills is short of cyanide. Like 3 pills isn't going to do anything.
Yeah. Maybe I'm thinking those were,
he just wants to get high.
I think they were Quaaludes. Yeah. I'm like, because my kid's like, what are those red pills? I'm like, I think they're Quaaludes, which were a huge deal. You can't get those anymore.
Yeah,
but man, like growing up as a kid, that's all you heard people were fucked up on was Quaaludes.
Well, they said it earlier in the movie.
Oh, do they? Oh, I missed that. Okay.
The one lady even says, what does she say? Like, I had it written down. She's like, why don't you stop being so uptight and take a load or whatever, like something like that.
Oh my God, a lewd. I thought she said a load, like she was telling him to go take a shit. Because she says that to her manager.
No, she's not somebody from Pennsylvania telling him to take a load.
Take a load.
Take a load.
Take a load. Oh my God. Okay. That makes a lot more, because I was like, this movie is bananas.
So, but you're right though. Like, so he takes these pills, but he does this thing where he pulls this nylon over his face, which, by the way, talk about things that they don't do anymore. Like, remember when every robber in every movie had the nylon over his face?
Yes.
but he like pulls these nylons over his face, and you're right. He pierces his ear, and the guy is basically like, we're watching him lose his mind.
Yeah.
And he even like goes, like you said, to the like backstage area. And then the next time we see him, he's fine.
He's just, all that shit's off, and he's just sitting in the hotel room.
He got it out of his system, whatever it was that he was doing. He's done.
Yeah.
So kind of weird.
Well, that's the son. Like, we don't really even need to talk about him anymore, because this is all about evil. Now, I say it that way because this is so unintentionally hilarious. I don't know if they meant it to be hilarious, but so she, she's getting these calls at her music thing. And so she gets a call, and it's a guy, and he's talking very weird, and we see him in the phone booth, and now he's got like this voice manipulator, which is, I've never used a voice manipulator. I've never really seen one, but in 1980, apparently the way they worked was you jammed like a metal rod into your mouth and then talked, and it altered it somehow. I don't really know the specifics of how this worked, but I get it. He's, as we find out, he's the husband, spoiler alert. But so he has to disguise his voice, but he's also talking in this weird, overblown, like overemphasized, like, tonight I will kill someone at midnight. Like, just talk like that. Like, you don't even need the voice manipulator. If I talk like that on the phone, I don't think my wife would know it was me.
If the voice manipulator is doing its job, you could just talk normally.
You just talk normal.
Yeah. But it was almost like,
and then he's like, you can call me evil. It's a huge pause and just the drawn out evil, which is iconic in my sense. Like,
oh God. And I'll answer your question or it's just like give my thoughts on it. I don't think that they were trying to be funny. I just think it's that fucking bad.
It's supposed to sound menacing, but
oh my God, it is so unintentionally hilarious. You almost feel guilty watching it, but it's so funny. Oh my God.
And so his plan now is to kill, because they're doing this coast to coast New Year's Eve event, and she's even like calling it, because they're in Los Angeles. So she's like, New York, are you with me? Chicago, are you with me? Aspen, are you with me? Like a real indicator of there is fucking fuck all in the mountain time zone area to where you got to go to Aspen, I guess. Like, Texas doesn't exist. I don't know. Is any of Texas? I don't even know what's technically in. I could say for sure Colorado, the state, is in the mountain time zone.
Yes.
That's about it.
Yeah.
So, and then leading up to Los Angeles. So the plan now is at every stroke of midnight, this guy's going to kill someone. He doesn't really say like, I'm working my way to you. I think they just kind of assume it because he's calling her.
Well, yeah. And it's kind of an interesting concept, I guess. Like, I had a friend mention, like, wouldn't it be more interesting if like it was a little bit more of a broader conspiracy and the person had somebody like accomplices or whatever, like killing somebody actually in those separate time zones.
Right.
But the thing is, they're like, no, we'll just, for convenience, he'll just kill everybody here, but just do it at midnight so each of the time zones can appreciate it. You know?
And without jumping
like when
too
you call
far.
It's like when you call your friends on the East Coast at 11 o'clock to wish them, a happy New Year's, it's 11 o'clock here Central Time, but you call them, and it's basically that, but with killing people.
Yeah. But it would be like if I called you at 11 o'clock and wish you happy New Year, like
Right.
Not here yet. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Also, without jumping too far ahead, we find out later, like, these kills are not really planned out. He is just like fucking by the seat of his pants finding victims to where he's like, I'm under a time constraint here. God damn it. Let's go.
Yeah. And it's like, wouldn't you plan that out a little bit better?
Yeah.
And it's especially that first setup, which, okay, so he goes to the first kill is at the, the first one is counted as the mental institution, right?
Yes.
With the nurse. Okay.
Yes.
So
that's the first New Year's Evil kill.
Right.
Because we find out he has killed Yvonne earlier, which again is like, why? It's out of the plan. It just seems like a very odd kill just to have one.
Right. But I will say Yvonne looks like remarkably modern, like compared to everybody else. Like she looks like she could just walk into a movie like right now in 2020. Like Yvonne looks great.
Yes.
It's too bad she doesn't have a bigger part. But so his first kill, he goes, you're in a mental institution, which you're kind of wondering now. I guess it all makes sense when you get to the end of the film, but you're kind of wondering, like, why would he pick this place as his first kill? But you just kind of go with it.
Yeah.
But meets a nurse there. He dresses as a doctor, meets a nurse, and they just decide within the first 10 minutes of meeting each other that they're going to hang out and bang.
He's got some booze. He's like,
it's New Year's.
They sent me over here. I'm here to fill in with someone, but you look good and I've got champagne. Can we go somewhere? And she's like, I guess so.
Yeah.
I was just coming out into the hall to check on something, but my plans are open now.
Right. And so you would think that he would have put a little bit more thought into, well, truthfully, the logistics of this plan, like traveling from here to there, having enough time to kill somebody. But you're right. At least he probably gave himself ample time for that first kill. But the second kill, he's just absolutely running that clock down to the last second.
Yeah. Because the first kill happened. Oh, and we should say he records them too. He records his kills so that when he calls Blaze back, he can play the proof. Like you hear the countdown and then you hear stabby stab noises. And because he's got this great switchblade, which they do earlier on when the punks show up to my favorite cop. They put a switchblade in his face and open it up. And they've been to Wright's Barnyard. It's the comb, the switch comb. They had 10 tickets. They turned it in. The switch comb. But yeah, he's got this switchblade. That's kind of his weapon, his iconic weapon, which is not that iconic, but in 1980, holy shit, switchblades were huge. Like what a technology advancement, technological advancement in weaponry was the switchblade.
Yeah, they were illegal in our state for the longest time. I don't know if they still are, but I know that there was a store where I bought one. And it's like a full-on giant switch.
Start with an F and end in an Etlas.
Surprisingly, no, that's where I buy my blowguns. But no, it was an antique shop in Crown Point that's no longer in business, but they had a whole display of gorgeous, like mother of pearl, like beautiful. Some of them were wood grain, gorgeous, giant, legit switchblades. They were awesome.
Wow. Maybe that's how they got away with it. They were like, this is art.
Yeah. These are antiques.
Antique. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, as you said, the second kill is he rolls up. First, he puts on this mustache, which could not look faker. Like he looks like the cop. If anyone has seen the first Sleepaway Camp, there's a cop at the end of that, which they do a close up, and you're like, this mustache is the fakest mustache I've ever seen in film. And that's what Evil puts on. And he goes into a bar. Now, he is an attractive man. He is that iconic 80s, like devilishly handsome guy.
Yeah, kind of sharp features, thin lips, stick straight hair, slightly feathered. Bruce Jenner. Let's just picture Bruce Jenner.
Exactly. Yes. And he meets a woman, and and he's like, they just kind of hit it off. And he's like, I'm only here. I just came in for a drink, but I'm gonna go. But if you want to come with me, that'd be cool. And she like comes out with her friend. And she's like, expect me. I'm just going to go somewhere with a stranger. Right. So the two of them cram into his car. And I love this scene because it's like they're driving. He knows he's got something he's got to, he's already like, the thing I've got to do, I have to do it like in the next 3 minutes. He's the one woman is just chattering nonstop. And her friend is just like, doesn't want to be there. I'm sure it was like don't go with this guy. And she's like, please just come with me. And so she's like just fucking being dragged along. Like, this is not how she wanted her night to go. She left the bar at, it's 9 o'clock in LA.
Well, you know how they got him out of the bar. He dropped the celebrity's name that he said he was on his way to Eric Estrada's house.
Right, Eric Estrada's house.
You drop Eric Estrada in 1980 and they'll do any goddamn thing you want.
That's right. Oh my God, I forgot it was Eric Estrada. So yeah, he says he's in town. He's got a meeting with Eric Estrada on New Year's Eve, of course. Yeah, and the ladies come with him, and again, here's kind of one of those things where it's like it feels inconsistent. You kind of wish he had more of a plan, because they pull up to a liquor store. He like sends the silent friend in to get liquor, and while she's inside, he kills the first woman. And now, so when the silent one comes out, his car is gone, and you just kind of expect that to be the end of it, right? But it's not. So she's like kind of walking around the alley and sees this piece of cloth hanging out of this dumpster. So she goes over, lifts the dumpster up. There's this insane shot where he's like crouching in the dumpster and flicks on this lighter, and it's just like, and then pulls her into the dumpster. Do we see him kill the chatty girl?
Oh, you bet you do. Okay,
I'm like blanking.
Oh, I'll fill you in. So first of all, just real quick, let's just say, as they're driving in the car headed to the liquor store, the one friend is just rambling on about how she got to LA and she, would get stressed out, but she tried some transcendental meditation. And then she did some like regressive hypnotherapy or whatever. She's listing off all these
classic California talk.
Yeah. Just like neo-psychology, whatever the trend is. And then when she gets to the final item on the list of things that she's been doing, she just says, and now I write haikus. The word in the script was haikus, but she says, and now I write haikus. How nobody caught that?
Right.
Do you write haikus about your ficus?
She said something about the friend and her like diarrhea, right?
Oh yeah. And then she throws her friend under the bus by saying she's saying I've got all these problems and I've done all these things. But yeah, I've done transcendental meditation and it really helped my friend here with her nervous diarrhea. Like actually says it as that.
Yeah.
So that what's really weird is when they pull up to the liquor store, it's almost as if the killer is sensitive to her nervous diarrhea, where he's like, I want you to go in and go to the John and then get a bottle of the best champagne.
That's right.
Why does he tells her to go to the bathroom? But then in answer to your question,
don't use this liquor store bathroom.
He pulls out a bag of weed, which apparently you have like a quarter of weed in like a giant freezer bag back in 1980, apparently.
Yeah, this is a gallon size bag.
Yeah. And he's got like a quarter in there.
Yeah. Well, but there's nothing in it though.
There's weed in there. You could see weed in the bottom.
Okay, I couldn't see it. Okay, well, that makes more sense. But yeah, he's like, I've got this, smell it. That's right. And then he puts the bag over her head. That's right.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, as he's pulling out this bag, I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. But I didn't see the weed in it. So that's good. I thought he just had like an empty bag that he's like, here.
Yeah, no, so she died just smelling those nugs.
Yeah, she's probably euphoric when she passed.
Yeah. But
hungry as hell.
But so he does that. But you're right. When he goes to hide in the dumpster, it's like, who's got the time for this? Like, you're on a schedule, dude.
Right. Like, clock's already ticking on the next victim.
Right. And she doesn't count, but he just throws it in there for fun.
Yeah, that was weird, but that was one of those shots in the trailer where I was like, oh, this is not good. This is like a goof or something. Because the guy looks so weird in the dumpster. I'm like, this is a red herring part. Nope, not. It wasn't. He pulls her in and kills her in there for some reason. And then he calls Blaze again. And he's letting the cops know where the bodies are. Like, he's like, follow my trail, please.
Right. And of course, what do the cops say? Because it's an 80s movie, they're gonna try to trace the call. Because remember the fucking technology of call tracing in the 80s was gonna fix it all. Like we're gonna trace the call, keep them on the line. Boy, man, they did a lot of call tracing back then.
Yeah. So now he's on his way to his third kill, and I kind of loved this part because so now he's like dressed up as a priest, right? He's got the white collar on, and like this bike gang pulls up next to him, a roving Los Angeles bike gang, and one's like taunting him, like, "Hey, father, fuck you," like flipping him off and everything. And he's so preoccupied in his car that he ends up hitting one of these guys on the bike. So now these bikers are chasing him. And for a moment, I'm like, get away. You got to get away. You've got people to kill. You got a whole thing to do tonight. So it's this weird, like, you're hoping the killer avoids this bike gang that's after him now. And you see, oh yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and then you see a scene where later on he runs into a motorcycle, like crashes into a motorcycle with nobody on it.
Yeah.
But it's this red motorcycle, nobody's on it. But the split second before the car hits, all of a sudden it switches to a motorcycle with like no paint on it, like just like a parts bike like this. So
that thing shatters too.
You're telling me that he knocked the paint off the bike. Like that's impressive. But yeah, because
the bikers, he goes to the Van Nuys drive-in to hide. And so now all the bikers are kind of coming through. Again, he has no plan about who he's going to kill because he just finds someone at the drive-in and like takes their car essentially and is like, okay, now I'm going to kill you. And I love this girl. The girl thankfully gets away, but
with the pigtails. I love her.
She's super cute. She's just like, at the movies getting high, she doesn't even want to mess around. She's just there to get high. And so now when Evil's like driving her around, like it's so sad, but I think so well done where she's just like, kind of begging, but not even in this over the top begging, just like almost like she's just trying to reason with them, and she's just like, we can like, I'll put out for you if you want. I won't even struggle or, like, just please don't kill me. But she ends up getting away because he runs into like two random guys out celebrating who like block him on the road. Like he stops for these guys and then she runs out of the car and Evil goes to chase her and the cops show up.
Yeah, in like 2 seconds. Like like she's right. He knows where she is. Like, why don't you just get down to business and get in there and start, stabbing her or something? But he's just like waiting to like pounce on her. And then like immediately a cop is there and he bolts and then she gets away.
Yeah. Which then, does he kill anyone that time then? I don't think he gets a victim then.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
He doesn't. But and meanwhile, while all this is happening, so Evil's out there doing his thing and killing people by the clock. There are, we get these shots back at the countdown show of what apparently, and I'm not going to bore you with, I'm a huge new wave fan. Okay. I actually like new wave music a lot and punk music. And this whole movie is kind of like centered on like, there's this new wave show host and she's the one doing this. And we're going to have new wave bands and new wave music, but it's really more just like straight ahead 70s glam rock. Like there's nothing really new wave about it at all.
No.
But what's funny is we get these crowd scenes where, people, the same 20 people are dancing on the dance floor. And there's the most adorable, like prototype of stage diving where there's not even anybody to catch them.
Oh, they're just kind of jumping.
This guy's jumping off the stage, just into nothing.
But
just land.
It's at least a creative shot where like the shots from the floor up and they're like jumping over the camera. Like at least there was some creativity in there. But yeah, you're right. It's these weird, and I think I said it before, like you can hear the shuffling of the feet. Like it's almost louder than the music itself. It's so weird. And they're just kind of doing this
they're moshing.
half-ass mosh.
Yeah. It's like an early moshing.
Yeah, they're just kind
like,
of bumping into each other, but without enthusiasm. Like they were moshing later. They're like, what if we're excited about doing this? Now it's fun.
Yeah, way back when, before moshing was a term, we called it like slam dancing or pogoing. Like, and it was a little less aggressive and just kind of moving around on each other. But they get that part right. Like they're just kind of, just like this early moshing thing, like we're describing. But yeah, that cute stage diving with nobody there to catch them. I just thought that was great.
Yeah, that was funny. But yeah, the music in it is pretty bad. It's pretty nondescript, like hair metal kind of sounding, as you said. I am not a fan of new wave. While our movie tastes are pretty similar, our Venn diagram of music tastes just don't even intersect ever, I think.
But what's funny is now, shortly after where we're at, what we've been describing in the action, we get this character that kind of shows up out of nowhere, and he's the psychologist. And this guy, like, they ask him, what's like, kind of describe to us, like, what is this killer thinking? Like, what should we be looking out for? And the dude gives this like really weird delivery, which is basically just like a movie trailer. He's like, it began. He had thoughts of punishment and revenge on his enemies. And like, when he really talks like that, you're like, yeah. Why don't you just talk to them? Like, why are you saying it like that? But he will return to the place where it all began. It's so weird. But he imparts his wisdom to Blaze, who it's kind of, speaking of adorable, yes, I'm sure that it's kind of traumatic. You're hosting this TV show. You're getting these calls from this person who says they're going to kill somebody, but they're like so sensitive around her. Like, what can I get you? What can I do for you? Like, how can I make you comfortable? Like, I don't know. It's a little weird. But they just keep it going.
Well, but she is also like kind of a huge star. So it's, there is kind of that celebrity, like, let's make sure the star is coming no matter what, Yeah. But I do agree. It is kind of like they are almost realize this might be a personal thing before it's ever revealed that it's a personal thing. They're already foreshadowing, like, there's a lot of significance going on here, everyone, don't worry.
Even though they're the last ones to know, and we all know that it's a personal thing.
right
But yeah, they're being very, very protective.
Another thing is with the son, jumping back to the son, he does say, he's like, I've been trying to get a hold of dad, or it'll like have him calling and it's just busy. But it's revealed later they have been in contact. So it's another one of those things, like, what the fuck is the son doing in this movie?
Yeah.
I kind of jumped ahead. I forgot about some other stuff in there. So that really didn't make a lot of sense. I'll come back to that in a little bit. Because we should say, so now the third act of this movie is all at the hotel. They pretty much, like, where they're filming the special, they've like shut down the hotel. They're like, no one can get in, no one can get out. There is 3 people have died in Los Angeles tonight, and we're pretty sure they're all connected. So like, he does manage to get into the hotel. I love, he like calls a cop over. The cop's guarding the door, and he's like, I found a drunk over here. And the cop rushes over to arrest him or beat him up or whatever. He knocks that cop out and steals his uniform, and then heads over to the door the cop was guarding. And already there's like a new cop there, like,
right,
guarding the door, who's just like, oh, you're in a police officer's uniform. Come on in.
And let me make a quick point that he does take that officer's clothes in uniform after he knocks him out. Strangely, that officer was about 6 inches shorter than him and about 100 pounds heavier. Yeah. But it just fits him like a glove.
Yeah, I guess if you stretch it out, then it tapers down. But yeah, because he even like smooths it out, like, damn, this fits perfectly.
Right.
So now we get almost so there's this, and here's a scene where I'm like, I can't believe I'd never heard of this movie, because this scene or this shot seems so unique, because Blaze is up in she takes these long breaks from taping her live show to like go back up to her hotel room and chill out for a little bit while the bands play, I guess. And so we see the son in there and he leaves. So she's alone. Excuse me. And now you see someone step out of the shadows, right? And it pans up and they're wearing the weirdest fucking mask I've ever seen that looks, I'm sure, unintentionally creepy. I just found out from you that it was a Laurel mask from Laurel and Hardy, right?
Yes.
It's a Stan Laurel. It's a Stan Laurel mask. But the way the mask looks, it almost has like this like little side eye smirk to it. Like it's a super weird mask that looks creepy. And he's approaching her with the switchblade and she turns around and is like, oh my God. And he just takes off the mask and it's evil. He's like, hey, honey. She's like, oh my God, you made it. So like, boom, tension gone. And now it's just this weird, this is where I kind of was losing interest because now it's just, there's like nothing really happens, but so much happens. You know what I'm saying?
No, right.
Like there's a whole scene in that fucking elevator that lasts like 20 fucking minutes.
Yeah. And let's just mention real quick, when he gets into the hotel, somehow one of two very just implausible things happen. It's one thing that happens, but I can't figure out which one which one makes less sense. They both do. He's walking around. He's looking for another costume to change into out of the cop costume. And he just finds this trunk.
Oh, yeah.
This trunk that's just sitting there like a storage trunk or whatever, like you'd put old clothes in or something, like a chest. And he opened like he planted it there. Right. But so
it's sitting in the middle of the hall. So
he either planted it there to start with, or he's just like, oh, I wonder if there's a bunch of costumes in this trunk that I've never seen before. Yeah. And there are. So neither one of them makes sense. But
which is conveniently under the giant electrical panel that controls the elevator.
Yeah.
And he's got this whole system of like he's an old telephone operator. Like he's just swapping out wires, jamming screwdrivers into breakers, which then raises and lowers the elevator.
Apparently a master electrician that we didn't know about, but
he is a hacker before that was like computers were barely a thing then. So you had to hack electric panels.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, if he had a computer to hack, he'd hack it. But he's just working with what he's got, you know. But yeah, you're right. There's that whole elevator scene, and so he's finally confronting her, and then now we get our explanation of the fact that he just has a complete distrust of women. He thinks that women have always been against him. He tells her that he talked to their son, which is apparently. When he talked to their son is when he got him out of his nylons over the head pierced ear phase that lasted all of 15 minutes. But apparently talked to
do you think that's when they talked?
I think so.
Okay. Because it seems like his motivation was him talking to his son and how the wife and how Blaze treats him.
Yeah. He might have been like, son, why do you have these pantyhose on your head? And when did you pierce your ear like that? And then the son said, well, Dad, I got a spot on whatever it was called, Starship America or whatever the name was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But anyway,
I think they had that conversation earlier, and that's what started this night.
Okay.
Because this whole thing is like, our son got this part he got it on his own. He didn't use your name as, you're prone to do in Hollywood. It's about who you know. He got the part on his own and she didn't give a shit. Now, also, I gotta say, like, if someone in your life, you have to like respect their job, I guess. I get it. Like when they show her in this movie, she is not very like attentive to the family. She's doing a fucking live show right now. Like right. If I'm in a play, my fucking family doesn't come backstage to talk to me and, tell me their problems. Off limits right then. I'm at work. Now, I'm sure, yes. I'm sure there's a part of like she is an ego and a star and it's probably like that outside of it. But all we see is she's acting that way at work, which I totally respect. And I hate them for bringing their fucking drama to her when she's doing a live show.
Right. Yeah. It's like if you're if you were doing a play your family would know that that play doesn't go on forever. Like it's going to end and then they can talk to you about whatever they want.
Yeah. And she's doing a New Year's Eve show. It's pretty obvious when the show ends.
Right. She could have been like a lot of articles about this movie will say how unlikable of a character she is and how she doesn't care about her family. And why would they serve up a protagonist that's so unlikable? But you're right. It's like, she's working. She's at work.
Yeah.
Like she could have been a lot meaner and been like, I'm doing a live show here. Get the fuck out of here. Like I've got something to do,
Like I don't have time for this or something.
Yeah.
Yes, she is aloof, but I get it. Like she's just aloof. That's all you see.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't think that she doesn't love her son or something like that. Like it's kind of weird that way. But so the husband is unloading on her, and then I don't know if we missed something there or something was cut out, but there's mention of the fact that like all of the murders, like that the women had their breasts mutilated.
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
We don't see any of that.
We never see that. That's never like then brought back up like, oh, he's got a thing about this or what. Yeah, it's just like the breasts were mutilated like the other victims. Like there were like one other victim. That's not enough for a pattern, really.
Right.
But yeah, you don't see any like there's no indication like that he's doing like he's focused on the breasts or anything.
Yeah.
He seems more focused on recording it.
Right. I think that breast line was probably in the script. And then when they started shooting the movie, they kind of just forgot that they had to work that in.
Right.
Like it just,
it was just a bit much. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't want to really see that. That's just like sexual mutilation. Like that's not scary. It's just,
but you're right. None of the victims even have it. Like, even the one victim that he strangles and he kind of sets her, it's really hilarious how, remember, he sets her out like on a playground, and then these two bumbling cops go there, and then they see something over by the slide, and perfect timing. Here comes the nervous diarrhea girl just coming down the slide. Dead as hell, but breasts perfectly intact.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
also so during this elevator scene, as he's able to manipulate the elevator up and down, he handcuffs Blaze to the bottom of the elevator, and he's going to bring it all the way up and then bring it down so she gets crushed by it, right?
Yeah.
So when he brings it all the way up, that's when she sees Yvonne's head that he's now stashed inside the elevator shaft.
Right.
So yeah, again, nothing with her breasts. He cut her head off with a switchblade. I bet that took forever.
Yeah. For a guy that's on a tight schedule, yes.
Right. Yeah, because that happens. That's probably less than an hour from when Yvonne dies to the first midnight strike.
Who's got the time? I mean,
this guy, like, who can get around LA that quickly on a New Year's Eve?
It takes 10 minutes to go 1 mile in that city.
Yeah. And I also love how then all of a sudden there are people in the elevator. Like, when did these people get on?
Yeah.
They're acting their asses off. So it's like, whoa, I'm in a crazy elevator. They get up to the roof somehow, right? And I'm like really foggy on how this movie ended now.
Right. Yeah. So ultimately Blaze does not die in the elevator, and they go up to the roof, and then out of fucking nowhere, he starts quoting Shakespeare.
Yes.
And just for no good reason. Like, we don't know that this guy has any interest in acting or theater or Shakespeare or anything of that nature, but he starts quoting Hamlet, and then jumps off the roof, which I guess is that his fourth victim? That
I guess
is himself, because he does say someone that is going to die tonight. No, it would be her. She was the intended fourth victim.
Yeah.
But
then he kills himself.
Then he kills himself. And then the son is not happy about that.
Mm-mm.
Because, dad's got his back. And the last thing that we see is when the ambulance takes off, that it's actually her son driving. And now he has put on the freak ass Laurel mask,
right?
Which we can't get enough of that mask.
Every time I wish that had been in it more, because then at least that would have then made sense. Like maybe there's something with the mask, or at least the mask is a bridge. But no, it's just kind of, he's just wearing the mask now. The son. but he was already crazy. That's the other thing. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't feel anything about the son. The son is just such a weird, out of place,
Underdeveloped character.
underdeveloped. Yeah. It doesn't seem, I mean, it could have been something, but that's part, I think they dropped the ball on the son.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's also just kind of thrown in there. Like, we know that there's this guy out there killing people. I can't remember if it's when we know that she knows that it's her husband. I can't remember if it's before or after that. But at some point, they just happen to throw out that her husband used to be in a mental institution. Now, before that, it was always just that he was kind of absent. Like,
Right.
oh, he's not going to come to the show. He's doing business in Bel Air or wherever he is.
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs, yeah.
And he's already having fun. Like Yvonne's already talked to him. It looks like he's already started. So.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right.
But yeah, is the mental institution he goes to, was that the one he was in?
Yes. So that's why apparently he goes to that mental institution, which
makes sense then. But
yeah.
Nothing else then makes sense.
No.
Like he did that and he was like, okay, what else have I done? Oh man, I've been here so long. I guess I went to a bar before. All right, I'll go to a bar.
Right. Like, I mean, like even just picking the mental institution, like where should my first victim be? Like, well, I know my way around the mental institution pretty well.
Right.
I'll just go over there.
Or at least lead it like it's leading to the mental institution or something.
Yeah.
But to start there, you just peek and now you've got nowhere to go.
So in summary, obviously you are best off to watch this movie with the only expectation being pretty much unintended hilarity and goofiness. There is a sort of plot to follow, but like we said, it's got some holes. So you're best off just to watch it for the goofy acting, the fun silliness, the sort of datedness of it. But I'm kind of surprised, like you were saying earlier in this episode, that you had heard nothing about this movie. I knew next to nothing about the movie, just a little bit, but I'm surprised that this doesn't have a higher cult status. Like, because it's so goofy and it's quotable as hell. There are probably 10 hilarious one-liners that happen in this movie. I don't know why it's not like it's competing against a bunch of other New Year's horror movies.
Right.
So I don't know
why it doesn't have just didn't have any legs. This is just weird, but everyone knows Hellraiser.
Right. Yeah.
Good for beat the shit out of Hellraiser.
I love that that's our thing now.
Yeah. We're gonna own it.
Yeah. The horror podcast that is anti-Hellraiser. Like that takes some balls.
All right. Well, all right. That was that's really about it. That's all I really have to say about it.
It's really, honestly, I had fun. I had fun talking about this movie. I had a lot of fun just watching it and writing my notes down, just because that's really what this movie is meant to be, how it's meant to be handled. Just watch it and laugh your ass off.
Watch it and take notes.
Yeah. Do what I did. Yeah.
But no, it is. It's goofy. There's stuff that doesn't make sense, which is a little bothersome, but it's to be expected in a movie like this. But yeah, it's just the thing, this voice thing on the phone is just fun to do. Like just to talk like this.
Right.
Evil. Yeah. And I mean, how stuck in your head is, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've just walked around the house going, "It's New Year's evil."
Yeah, it's got a catchy theme song. That's for sure.
It does. All right, cool. Well, that was New Year's Evil from 1980. Please, do all our social stuff, Instagram is Slumber Podcast Massacre. Our email is slumberpodcast@gmail.com, patreon.com/Slumber Podcast Massacre. Huge thank you to our patrons for supporting us. Got some good things coming, I feel, that we're going to use our patron money for. No more vacations. We're going to spend it on stuff for the show. So we can't go anywhere. Anyway, join us next week. Hey everyone, it's me, Andy. Hey, I'm just jumping in here real quick.
over our reveal of what next week's episode was is because we actually changed it. We were going to do something, which we eventually will do. But I was kind of thinking 2020 kind of sucked balls, and we'd really like to have some fun. And January is Nicolas Cage's birthday. So we were like, hey, it would be kind of fun because Nick Cage does a lot of fun horror movies. Let's do a month of Nick Cage movies. So that's what we're going to do. So what I do want to say is coming up next is we're going to do The Wicker Man. His remake of The Wicker Man. And the plan is to go from bad and then get better. So Wicker Man is the worst one we're doing, I promise. And we got a lot of really great ones. If you've listened to the show, I'm sure you can guess which one we're going to end on. We're really excited about this, and then we'll get back to what we had regularly scheduled for the show after January. So that's it. Back to the regular rambling.
Okay, so that'll be next week. I'm excited about it. Tim, do you got anything else to say about New Year's Evil?
Well, speaking of increased technology, if anybody can out there, any listeners can make a voice modulator that sounds like the cigar smoking cousin in Christmas Vacation, that would be great. Please do it. Because that's exactly
the blessing. Clark, I'm evil.
Dude, it is. Oh, what is that guy's name? I don't know. That guy passed. That guy's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he does. All right, cool. Well, that's it. Timmy, Happy New Year. And I hope next year we will be shit-faced at the Franklin House.
It can't get much worse, can it?
No.
I mean, it can only get better. Sky's the limit.
Yeah. All right, Timmy. Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye. New Year's Eve.